Marketing is actually the second marketing company I'm building. The first one was actually Insanity Electronics. It just looks like, multi-million or billion-dollar consumer electronics company. But no, I was just selling other people's products on a website. I just go around to Ingram Micro was one of my main suppliers. D&L Distributing, I think that they were bought though. What is going on here? Got stuff going on here. It's not that interesting. Just, nothing. Something's happening while I'm talking on video. Could be a woman standing in the street, walking slowly. All right. Alrighty. You're getting their dog, no problem. So yeah, I just went and contacted companies like Ingram Micro. Ingram Micro supplies Staples and a lot of other companies. Basically what Ingram Micro is like, let's say that you want to invest in purchasing 350 Lenovo computers. You can get a deal with Ingram Micro, and then they find people to market your computers for you and sell your computers for you. So you keep your computers in their warehouse, and then they find people to market, like me, to market your computers for you, or Staples or whatever. They also, there's manufacturers, I believe, actually work with Ingram Micro also. So yeah, that's what I did. That was actually a marketing company, and I did really well. That was the first marketing company I ever built. And I'm really technical, and I'm really things have to be accurate and right and look good and professional. So I got up into number 1 to number 5 in Google, Yahoo, Bing, Shopzilla, because I went everywhere. I just go everywhere I can possibly find to list my products for the lowest cost possible. I'm always looking for deals where I'm only paying if I'm making money, and if I'm not making money, I'm paying very little for advertising. Because I worked at a gas station when I started Insanity Electronics. I didn't make very much money at all. So, and I had been a hobby programmer, but I was never a professional programmer. Insanity Electronics was technically enterprise software built on OpenCart, and that was my first big professional programming thing I ever did, and I got a lot of experience doing that. So it was doing really well. I had a lot of credit card fraud one time in 2012, and from 2010 when I started it to 2012, it was just consuming all of my time, and I didn't have any time for my wife. I just felt really bad for my wife and me, and I just I'm gonna go to school for software development and just go get a normal job as a software developer, and then later I'll come back to entrepreneurship. Because I quit entrepreneurship for my wife because she didn't really understand how things went in Houston anyway, with working with mom and pop companies and then going off on your own. She always was into you need to be working for a company that has all the normal things. So I quit. I was starting a company called Tail Feather, and I made handmade soap products and hemp products. So handmade soap products and hemp products called Tail Feather. I was planning on scaling it to a Christian cafe and kind of a soap and hemp guitar straps, hemp backpacks, hemp vests, and recycled clothing, designer clothing store. Very kind of like, classic millennial stuff, interestingly enough. I didn't have any friends in that stuff. That was the thing. I came across all of this from a very raw perspective, but I imagine a lot of other millennials also were just exposed to the same influences, same driving factors. But it wasn't like a trend. I didn't know anybody doing soap and hemp and making their own products and everything. I didn't know anybody like that. I knew the business owners. I knew the owners of the mom and pop companies I worked for, but soap and hemp and stuff, that wasn't a thing. It was just easy to get started is what it was about. And like macrame and stuff like that, bracelets, necklaces. But I dropped that and went and spent about 14 years. Well, part of the 14 years I talk about was actually working for the mom and pop companies, because before I worked for them, I planned on being an entrepreneur. I researched French technologies, and I worked on Batman tech. I was also a writer, also wrote a lot of science fiction, but I couldn't ever finish anything because I kept spending too much time on how it would actually work. And I felt I would be boring my readers, and I felt like, well, if you're going to put this much work into building science fiction tech in your books, just build the science fiction tech and, actually do it and show everybody. So that's what I planned on doing. But, then one thing after another, then I finally landed at East City Creative. I was going to school for Wake Tech for web technologies, and that was in North Carolina in Raleigh. And then but the company I was working for at a call center, and their contract got canceled, and one of the engineers leaked information to our staff that we were all about to be fired. So basically what happened was Lenovo went to hurry up and got a new contract with a new call center, and then let us finish ours, but took us off the calls. So we were basically getting paid to come into work and play board games and watch movies, because they just wasn't expecting that. Didn't want anything to go wrong with the customers. Went ahead and got the other people in place. So then I was unemployed for a little bit. I was really kind of concerned about finding a job there. I kept putting applications in. I got a phone call saying I was putting applications in for jobs I wasn't qualified for by this guy that was really pissed off. And the way he spoke was like he was a member of the Republican Party or something. He's like, I can get you into a job right now. I'm like, oh my goodness, dude. Who are you? I don't know you. You just seem like some guy just calling me that just saw my name on a piece of paper. But I was already trying to get with this company called Executive Detail and Graphics as their web developer. So I was like, I already got a job, thanks. So, and he goes, are you sure? You got a job, so you're not going to be getting unemployment any longer. So, no, I got a job. So then I go there, and then they tell me they're not going to pay me anything. They're just like, yeah, you really need to work as an intern. We shouldn't pay you. I was like, it was really weird because I just got finished saying on Facebook or something, I think it was Facebook, that I was encouraging people to get experience as interns and companies to get interns for free labor to help them get experience. I was like, eat your own medicine, Adam. Eat your own medicine. I was like, okay. Well, okay, I'll eat my own medicine, whatever. It's like not what... It's like I didn't have any kind of like agenda. I was just trying to help two sides. People get experience and people get labor. But it's like, that's your turn. Okay, fine. I ate my own medicine. And I went and got experience as their software developer. Then, so, I didn't know. I was like, okay, well, when am I going to get a job? I'm going to get a job in Raleigh. Can I move back to Houston? I called my parents, asked if Michelle and I could temporarily move in with them just so we can get over to Houston. And then I got a job in Houston after a few months. I was trying to get something done on my computer and start selling it. People didn't like that very much. So that's when I got a job at East City Creative. And I was still in school too. I was still in school. I had multiple things going on. So I started going to school remotely, Wake Tech. But then I had to drop out of school because I got a job developing software. And that's what I was going to school for, develop software, making websites. I got a job at a company developing software, making websites. But I had already been doing that since I was like a kid. I just wanted to get a degree, go get a job, So then I had to drop out of school. That was the second school I dropped out of. The first one was Ashworth College. I was in school for psychology. I didn't like what they were saying. I didn't like how the history of psychology and how they experimented on people unethically. And then in modern times, they're still doing it. They're doing it on kids. I was just appalled. I was like, I'm not gonna be a part of this. So I quit psychology. Then I went to Andersonville Theological Seminary. I actually finished the entire program. I actually have finished the associate's program at Andersonville Theological Seminary in Biblical Studies. That was the third college I went to, and I actually finished. I didn't want to pay for the degree. They wanted $250 for the degree and everything. I was like, well, I only got the associates because I'm trying to get the bachelor's, and I'm trying to be a certified Christian counselor instead of being a psychiatrist. Is what I was planning on being, as a psychiatrist. I didn't like psychiatry. I liked the mindset, gathering data, the scientific mindset, empirical evidence, all that. I love that. But the problem is that they kept crossing these boundaries that they felt that they were authoritative to cross, as though human beings were just their little things that they can experiment on, even in modern times. If you want an example, there's an example I was watching while I was in school for psychology. It wasn't in the actual book. It was just on TV of an actual psychologist doing work. And they were testing punishment and positive reinforcement and how it worked. And they told a little girl to put a puzzle together. It was on a timer. And then, so they set the timer for 30 seconds. You have 30 seconds. And so then the first time they let her go all the way through, and she didn't get it completely. I think, or she may have gotten it completely finished. Like, that's good. Okay, we're going to do it again. So now this time she's practiced, and she's really all right, I'm really going to get it this time. I know how everything goes. So they started the timer. Here's another 30 seconds. They told her it's going to be another 30 seconds, and then they stopped the timer early. And then so the timer went off. She was confused. And then they go, you're bad. You did a bad job. And she doesn't know what's going on. Her parents signed her up for this at just I'm done. You can all burn in hell. I don't care. Well, let's see. When I say burn in hell, I mean be refined in God's love. That's what I mean. If you scope things correctly, I think that's what hell means. And I'm not really find this offensive, because I'm not telling people's flesh to burn and sear forever. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying be refined in God's love. It's actually a pleasant experience. Although you wouldn't want to be on the other side of that. You wouldn't want to be the chaff. So it's important that Jesus told you that. This is my understanding of it. So I'm not contradicting Jesus. Jesus is the foundation, right? You need him to say the things he says for his word to grow in you, right? And so now his word's growing in you. That work's been done. But it's important, you don't want to become the chaff either. So I think in general, I just don't understand how human beings cannot be saved. I think what Jesus did was save humanity. I just think, and he talks about the resurrection. He says, I'm going to bring that man back. And I think what he's talking about is the man that is that grew in God's word, not the person committing crimes. So that's my thoughts anyway. I'm a scientist, so everything's open for debate. So, yeah. So that's what's been going on. But now, after East City Creative wasn't doing well, I'm just not going to talk about that. I have opinions. I'm not going to talk about them. But I went off on my own after that. And when it was like things were not going well, and so I said that I will work for him from home on a contract basis. And then that allowed me to get my own clients. This allowed me to finally get out back to entrepreneurship, where things felt halfway normal for my wife doing that. Was that I won't go home and work, and she knows everything that's going on. I didn't trick her or anything. And then I was still getting other clients and getting more money in. So now I'm making like 6 figures. At the time I was making 6 figures. And then I ran this whole big thing with AI, and I got out because what I'm trying to do is trying to get a lot of things ready. It's taken years, and it's, because I'm spread out all over the place. Unfortunately, I don't have anyone supporting me other than my wife, and myself. So I don't have any investors or anything like that. I can't have investors for this business model. I didn't know, I wasn't planning any of this, but in 2017, I just can see how things work and the outcomes of what people say, and I'm generally correct. I test myself, okay, let's just see what happens if I don't go with what I think is going to happen. And I get in trouble. The first experiments I did when I was a kid, and then I think I did a few more when I was older. Things go south. I generally have a pretty good judgment about things. That's what determining, because I'm always looking for empirical evidence, and I'm always going off of the backs of what's already proven and scaling. So I just found that I should always listen to my intuition about things, because it's based on empirical evidence. And I just so all this already happened in 2017. I saw Elon Musk and Mark Cuban talking, and I already ran into the singularity. I don't care if people believe me or not. That's not the point. I'm just telling you what happened. I was working on AI in secret because my work-life balance was way out of whack. I wanted to get that back. So what I was trying to do was work on AI in secret, have it build websites for me, and I can tell you how everything works. That's the thing, is people that are lying can't tell you how it works. I can tell you how it works, and I do tell people how it works. So basically what I was trying to do, and so now it's a little weird because we have ChatGPT out. It's a little weird, I admit that, but still I was already talking about this. But what I was trying to do was, I didn't know about transformers. Basically take words, because when I'm in meetings with clients, I'm taking notes, right? We want our website to go like this. We want it to look bubbly, like Web 2.0. We want it to be like Shell's website. We want it to be like Apple's website, whatever, right? They're giving me things like this. So basically my plan was, I'm going to take my notes in the meeting. I'm going to text them to a server. The server is going to send that to software, to an AI bot. The AI bot is going to translate this into vectors. I'm just going to have it actually consuming a series of images from the computer screen that it was trained on. Snapshot, 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 snapshot. All right, do thousands of these, 20 frames per second or something like that. I'm going to have an AI bot trained on me teaching it that, going around moving the mouse and having access to the mouse. Of course, it has an interface with the mouse. It has an interface with the keyboard. So I'm training it on keyboard input. Then I'm moving a mouse. And I also have I had a queue for YouTube videos, downloading YouTube videos, and then putting those in there. all this wasn't secret, and I'm not supposed to know about any of this, right? And I was doing it in Java. I called it radix, and I based it on the human brain. That is, I know a lot about people, right? And then I studied neuroscience some in 2015 or 16 when I was working on 221-B. It was an AI model to work on the problem of faster than light travel the way I work on it 24/7. Just have what I do. It's a process. Take what I do it 24/7. Figure out faster than light on paper, and then I do a lot of like thought experiments and things like that. And you already know with experience with Einstein that that's a valid way of thinking. So I was going to have it work on like that, doing thought experiments and going through. Basically what I was doing is looking at anomalies and paradoxes. There are no true paradoxes. That doesn't even make sense. It's like it's a paradox. So when people say it's a paradox, that interprets to me is that you don't know how everything works. And that's all they're ever saying. They may say it like, is this a true paradox or not a true paradox? I don't care. Physics is not lying. It's a paradox because you don't know how it works. So we have these voids in data all over the place. We have these spots in data, in physics data, where this is a paradox, this is a paradox, there's a paradox. But okay, when we go like this, it does this. We go like this, it does this. So there's some other mechanism behind here that you can't explain. You haven't explained yet anyway. You can't explain. You haven't explained it yet. So what 221-B does, I feed it physics data, and it translates into math, words into vectors and things. Vectors and multiplication, addition, and calculus. And then it looks for these spots and it starts focusing on the spots and starts running experiments on these spots. And basically what it tries to do is it tries to develop methods in math that represent the physical environment where we can get from point A to point F by explaining how things work here and here and here. And it's kind of a brute force method. Brute force. It's actually closer to genetic algorithms is what I eventually found out that what I was doing is called genetic algorithms. So it sits there and it figures that out, and then when it keeps going through and looking for places where something, okay, well, this all works right here, like a puzzle right here, but then we get down here, it stops working, so now we need to reevaluate. We already have this scoped off, right? It can't be this, it can't be this, it can't be this, it can be this, it can be this, it can't be this. So that's what 221-B does. And then if you notice, it's funny because it sounds like a robot name, like a Star Wars robot name, like C-3PO or something, 221-B. So it sounds like a robot name, but it's actually the first part of Sherlock Holmes' address. And then this actually tells you about how it works, because what it is that after I train this neural network system, phrases that you put in there are like addresses. It's like, okay, we want to go to, how can a man travel faster than the speed of light without losing track of time, without becoming unsynchronized with time on Earth or dying, right? So it's like an address. An address causes its constraints. And so it's like pulling an answer out of the data, kind of like pulling an object out of liquid for a 3D, mold. You're like pulling it out. And it's a big answer. It's a big, complex answer that comes with all sorts of things to resolve it based on real world experiences. It looks like a spaceship. It looks like a spaceship with specific ways to manipulate physics and specific ways to keep humans safe. So that's why it's called 221-B, because it's putting the address to solutions of problems within a matrix of neural networks. and specialized processes. But the main point was the matrix neural networks, and then I have specialized processes. It causes the neural networks to work in a very state like I am. It's like a dream-like state where you have things just floating around, and this comes by because this is closest to the problem. This comes by. It's like in a vortex, and then things are being organized in the vortex. And that's how 221-B works. So that was the first AI model I was working on, and that's when I started learning neuroscience. Because before that, I was going on like a symbolic architecture. I started getting a little confused for some reason, even though I had things worked out. It was honestly like I was being manipulated. I'm just going to tell you the truth. It was like I was being manipulated because I had no reason other than stress for me to be forgetting how things work. And I'm like forgetting how things work in the symbolic architecture. I'm like getting really confused. Like, okay, let me study neuroscience. So I started studying neuroscience. And it's like, okay, well, that's easy. Okay, I get that. So I studied some neuroscience, and then I knew just enough just to go, continue in 221-B. Well, so then I already knew the symbolic way and how humans work and stuff, and the way my mind works, raw intelligence. So I was like, okay, so the fastest way for me to get to resolving words into vectors is by just designing a brain. I'm just going to design a human brain and code. And that's what radix was. And then that's when I ran into singularity, because I'm thinking about how to build websites, right? Like, how can I get you to build websites? But I am doing it in moving a mouse, taking input from a keyboard, consuming videos, typing, or just outputting text in a sequence of text, right? In my technical mindset, only a few more steps left is hooking this up to like a robot and having it control movements in its arms and go towards goals, and using sensors to tell it's in contact and to calibrate that with the video. This is really easy for me. The main part was getting it to think and solve problems, and that was what I already figured out. But I didn't realize, I'm thinking of like how to build websites. I didn't realize I'm thinking of how to do anything. It does anything you tell it to, because we're using words. And so I'm also making statements about ChatGPT and transformers and LLMs, but I didn't know about it. I didn't know about all that back then. That came out in 2017. I was working on mine simultaneously in 2017. So, and I was honestly working on it before in 2015. In 2015 and 16 is when I was working on 221-B. I was actually trying to sell 221-B to a very important engineering organization in America is what I was trying to do. The meeting fell through because the two companies, a company I worked for and a company that they were working for, got into a fight. I never got to have the meeting. So, but now I'm kind of glad, because I was trying to sell it for 14 million total, and I was going to only walk away with 2 million of that. So, and I was setting them up to be able to do a subscription to it if they wanted to. And so it was 221-B. I mean, it's similar to ChatGPT in the fact that you're putting in words, but I mean, it's very similar. It's honestly very similar. It's very similar. Because I mean, it's like the architecture. We're looking at the same constraints. Like, okay, we're taking in data. We're taking reports, right? So they're going to have like engineering specifications. They're going to have data about things they did in the lab, experiments they did, things that are going out in the field, how bridges are collapsing under what stress is. So I was going to sell that to them and then set them up to offer subscriptions to it if they wanted to gain revenue more than just through its use, if they wanted to open up gaining revenue to other people. But the meeting never happened. But so it's very similar, because from a architectural standpoint, is that, you're running into the same, like, things that humans use. We use documents. We got PDF files, Word documents, CSV files, XLS files, right? We have all the same constraints, and so we need these modes. I call it multi-sensory. I wasn't even really calling it anything. I was just saying it has multiple inputs. Because from an object-oriented programming point of view, we're giving it multiple inputs. But, they had come up with all these, like, marketing things. And people trust the marketing things, and it makes the situation a lot bigger than it actually is. And then until you actually become an object-oriented programmer, and then you can, like, get all that junk out of your mind and get down to object-oriented programming. And now it's like, you see how simple it really is. It's just make it a lot more complex for all the marketing stuff. Multimodal, sure, whatever. Multi-modes, okay. That's not too far-fetched. I was just saying senses because it's using sensors and it has, inputs. But I'm basing it on the human brain. Humans have senses. But yeah, so that's that. Wow, 31 minutes. I'm gonna go ahead and stop. Thanks for listening to me.